You're listening to Mudville Sounds.
Hello?
There's a time, there's a place where all things can be said. Got it locked deep inside. The words will find you soon. I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones. I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones. I don't have a thing for you. I have nothing left to give. It's not here, it's out there. You'll find it once you've grown. And I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones. I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones. Boy, you need to slow it down. You got to soak it in. It's okay, you got it made. You got the whole world at your feet. And I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones. I can feel, I can feel, I can feel it in my bones.
We are called Mudville Sounds, and you are called Tyler Grilli.
Yeah, that's my name. That's what people call me. Most people, I think.
So, talk to me a little bit about your music. Like, what kind of sound would you describe your music?
Well, I guess, it's more rooted in, I guess, like acoustic guitar roots. I mean, that's where most of them start. But I mean, if anything, I guess you could. The simplest explanation would be like folk, or I don't know. That's I hate defining it. I hate like trying to. What genre do you write? I mean,
I have similar issues with mine. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, it usually starts with acoustic guitar, and then kind of goes from there. Some songs, that's all the instrumentation that's required. Sometimes it branches out into, adding full instrumentation of drums, bass, guitar, keyboards.
I know when I'm hearing your stuff, it's very reminiscent of like Jack White with Bob Dylan and John Lennon kind of all rolled into one there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty astute observation, I'd say, considering, I mean, like, yeah, I'd say, like, in high school, John was probably the Beatle I, like, latched onto most, just because he was, like, so bitter and angry, it seemed like, but he had his soft side, like, so, and then, obviously, Jack White, he was another one. Bob Dylan, I think I actually found later.
Really?
Than the other two, yeah. Bob was, like, towards the end of high school. But, like...
Well, that's interesting because you use a lot of harmonica in your stuff. So when did that start?
That started, like, pretty much... Like, I'd say that, like, John and Jack were definitely, like, two people that, like... inspired me and how I like think about music, but Bob was kind of the one who like inspired me to actually try to write my own stuff as opposed to like just learning other people's songs, or which I mean I still do that. I like playing other people's songs, but yeah, Bob was kind of someone who made me think like, okay, well maybe I should let me at least try to do it myself and see how it goes, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun.
So where did the harmonica influence come
The harmonica came from Bob.
Oh, okay, so
like,
you didn't start playing harmonica until later then either?
No, like I was playing guitar like, like early high school, but the harmonica came way later, yeah.
Way later.
And it only started with like maybe one or two keys, and it took me a while to realize like, oh, if you want to play like in different keys, you're gonna need a lot more harmonicas, like
right, because they're all in different keys.
They're all in different keys, yeah. So yeah, that took me a while to figure that out.
And how old were you when you started playing?
Well, I mean, I guess my first introduction to like playing an instrument was in like fourth grade or fifth grade. Playing violin. I didn't really like it, so I ended up quitting. And then around 8th grade, there was a garage sale down the street from my house. They were selling a drum set for $20. It didn't have everything for the kit. It was really old and beat up. Like, it didn't have a snare drum, and I think all it had was a mounted tom, a floor tom, a bass drum, and a hi-hat and crash. It did not. Yeah, the snare was the most important thing to not have. All the heads were super beat up, and but me and my brother, we played it without the snare for a really long time. Until we finally were able to get a snare drum. And I was mostly a drummer. I played guitar. I think I got my first guitar when I was about 14 or 15. So it would have been a freshman or so in high school, I think. But it's still mostly a drummer. I mean, I played drums in marching band and jazz band.
Okay.
But, guitar, guitar didn't really become, like, my main instrument until, like, probably, like, after I graduated high school.
Huh.
Mostly just because drums are really loud. And they're really, it's really hard to find a place where you can play drums without annoying the absolute,
Yes, something I
shit
have
out of
found out
people.
with my neighbors recently.
Yeah.
Trying to play drums in the garage. is not okay.
So, guitar is a much more friendly, ear-friendly instrument for if you're not trying to disturb
Well, it's way
so
more
many
portable,
people.
too. You could take it with you places.
It's just a guitar and you just pick it up. You can't do that with drums,
Not those kind of drums.
But,
no.
like, I'm always, like, constantly, like, I'm constantly playing on my knees and drumming on any surface I have my hands on, it turns into a drum.
I see.
At some point, So, I think, like, drumming is still, like, very important to me. And I think that a lot of musicians, I think, can benefit from playing drums first before playing some sort of noted instrument, just because it helps develop your rhythm. And I think that playing drums definitely has informed, like, the rest of my music.
Sure.
I think about things more rhythmically than I feel like I probably would have if I didn't start with drums.
And I've noticed that with a lot of drummers turned guitar or vocalist or whatever, or drummers in general who write songs or songwriters. They tend to be very rhythmic centric, whereas if you're not like a drummer first, you tend to focus more on like melodies and riffs and whatnot. At least that's what I've kind of seen.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. That's really cool that you started out with drums first. I didn't know that. So, are you from Stockton, Lodi, or?
Yeah, I was born in San Jose, but we moved here when I was like 6 months old.
Okay.
So it's like
yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like, if I really want to, I can claim I'm not really from here, but I'm from Stockton.
You went to school here, you went to high school here. For sure. No, it's all good. Sweet. And when did you start actually playing music seriously?
I think I started really writing seriously was probably around 17, 18 years old. And I'm 34 now, so yeah, that was when I thought I could write music and play it for people, instead of just doing stuff in my room.
Yeah.
And just.
Do you remember your first gig?
My first gig. Well, see, that's the thing is I feel like. It all kind of blends together. I can't really remember my first gig that I did on my own. I remember I did lots of performing with a band and stuff like that. So being in front of people wasn't super scary. But I do remember one of my first big performances at an actual show was with my brother's band. I'm trying to remember because he was in a bunch of different bands. I'm not even entirely sure what band I was supporting, but I opened for them, and I remember I took it as a really big deal because it was I don't think it was technically my first performance in front of people, but it was my first really big my name was on the flyer, that was that was the moment okay, this is for real, But I remember, you see me perform. You know that I have my music stand on stage, with all my lyrics.
Yeah.
I always have it there in case I forget. And I think at the time I was still doing that. I was already doing that, but I didn't have the binder that had everything. It was just all loose paper.
Okay.
And I remember I remember having to make some sort of adjustment with my guitar, and the headstock just like knocked all of my papers all over the floor. There was no like paper clips or anything. It was just like there was just papers just flying all over Blackwater's floor.
Of course, it's the Blackwater.
Of course, it was Blackwater, and yeah, it was mortifying because it was like this was like I think it was only like maybe like the second or third song into my set. Like I hadn't made the connection with the audience yet. I was still trying to prove myself, and then I'm like knocking shit all over the floor, and it was just like, oh, this sucks, you know.
Oh.
But you know, my brother, he actually came and helped me out. Got all my music back on the stand.
And come to find out, is the Blackwater crowd don't care?
Yeah, no, nobody cared. It was all in my head, thinking like this is like the worst possible outcome.
That's actually where I first met you, I think, is at the Blackwater. That's where I first heard your sound and everything. Blew me away, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, that's awesome. That was your first gig then, huh?
Yeah, I think that was in like 2008 or something like that. Like it was like I was like just out of high school. I think,
all right.
When that happened. So yeah, it was a long time ago.
Wow, that's killer, man. Do you so? Looking back on that experience, how far do you think you've grown from that?
I think, I mean, in terms of like performing live, I feel like everything's definitely a lot more streamlined. I feel like I know what I'm doing, like a lot more. I mean, I play some of those songs that I played that night. I think I still play them, but I play them a lot better than I did.
You would hope. Yeah.
I hope I do. I mean, but yeah, everything is all kind of like I know where everything goes now. You know, like I have a place for my music stand, and my music is in a binder now with sheet protectors. So even if the stand falls over, the songs they're not going to go flying everywhere.
And see, I love that too. Is that you still have like the paper lead sheets in your binder instead of what a lot of us do now is use the devices and have all of our leads on tablets.
See,
you know?
that is because of really two things. Like I like one, I can't trust that like the screen is going to stay on. Like, while I'm playing, if I forget a line and the screen goes dark and it's like, hang on, I gotta put my code into my screen, like, so I can remember this last, like, no, I can't. So if I just have the paper there, I can just look at the paper. Sure. But, you know, you can't zoom in on paper. You can't make the text bigger on paper once you print it. So, like, you know, it has its own cons, you know, it's a big thing. So it's like, it's something to carry, and you have to have a whole stand and everything for it. But I also like to, like, record my sets, like, when I do them. So, like, sometimes, like, I can't record a video while I'm recording or while I'm, like, reading something, like, reading lyrics at the same time. So there's some practicality that comes with just having paper, you know. Plus, I can just feel it. It's right there, you know. Plus, if it's, like, something I wrote, I want to have, like, a physical copy of it in the event that like I need to prove that I wrote this. Yeah. Like every single lyric sheet that I write, I always write the date.
Oh wow.
The time that I finished it, you know, like just so I have some sort of plausible deniability in case like somebody tries to.
Do you do the old school thing where you mail it to yourself too?
No, I don't do that. I mean, that's like That I guess that's the one final step that I haven't taken. I could just like put my binder in a box. And
I had heard that isn't even good enough anymore. Like
I don't know if it is.
That won't stand up in court anymore.
Think it is,
I could be wrong, but I think I remember hearing that somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing anymore.
That's funny. So what do you think your favorite venue has been here in the area?
Here in Stockton.
Stockton area, Lodi, you know?
I mean, I really loved Blackwater. Not to say that there's anything wrong with Terra Coffee. In fact, there's nothing wrong with Terra
No,
Coffee.
they're still getting up and going when it comes to their music stuff.
I think I don't necessarily have like a favorite spot. I mean, if I had to pick, it would probably be Blackwater. I do really miss. I feel like I miss more of the time surrounding the venues in which I played. Like, because I had many days where I played at Whirlow's, and that was like for like a solid year. I was going there like every week. Or that there was a Sweetbot Cafe, and it's like,
yeah, I remember that place.
Like, those are great spots, but like they never really got like major traction the way that like everybody was kind of hoping they would. I mean, they had their days, where they'd get really, really popping or whatever. But I miss the time surrounding like when all of that was happening. I'm a super nostalgic sap.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So
there's
like,
not so much the place, but what was going
it's the
on
friends
in
you
your
made
life
along the way.
Yeah,
exactly.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So.
I definitely miss Blackwater for a lot of the same reasons.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. That was like my home away from home.
Yeah, a lot of the crazy people in the Stockton music scene. That's where I met them. It's just like, I mean, the venues don't really. I feel like the venues don't necessarily matter. It's just the people that come to show up, or the people that don't show up, But you meet people at the venue. It's not necessarily like the stage itself, the sound system, or anything, or the lights. Like none of that's really all that important. So, at least not to me.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It definitely has a lot to do with the vibe of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking about playing shows and mics and having venues like that, for me personally, it has more to do with the music than anything else. If you've got good musicians and good sounds on your stage, then you could be in a rat hole and it'll be all right.
Exactly. Yeah. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where it is, So
definitely,
I played in some really weird places.
Yeah, what's the weirdest?
The weirdest. I mean, it wasn't really weird. I mean, I guess it was weird in the sense that like you wouldn't really think that like live music would be playing there, but I did a set in the back of a yoga studio. In Sacramento. That was kind of weird.
All right.
It's not. I mean, it doesn't, now, see, saying it out loud, it doesn't sound that weird. Yeah. I mean, just different, like, I remember, what was it? There's a place down in Stockton, I can't remember what it was called. There's a lot of, like, punk shows and stuff like that there. But I don't think, it's not open anymore. I can't remember what it's called.
It's not.
Thank you.
It's not open anymore?
It's not open anymore, no. I can't remember what it's called. That's a total non sequitur there. But it wasn't like, I guess the reason why I brought it up is because it wasn't even really like a business. Like, it wasn't, like, they didn't sell anything. It wasn't a restaurant. It wasn't a bar. It was just like a building that...
The flower shop? Was it the flower shop?
No, it wasn't the flower shop.
Okay, because I played a gig there, and that was like that.
Yeah,
like
I never got to
really
play
weird.
there. I never got to play there, but that's kind of what I heard. But yeah, it was just a building, and I remember it wasn't. I don't even think it was like a community center or something like that. I wish I could remember what it was called, but yeah, I just remember that they just had like this really. They had like a stage that was literally like maybe 4 inches off the ground. Mm-hmm. It was just like a little 2x4 built stage.
I mean, back in the day, that's where a lot of the shows were at those kinds of places where they weren't necessarily any kind of business. It was just like a hall or something like that that they would rent out for the shows. Mm-hmm. American Legion was a big one when I was growing up.
Yeah, I remember my brother playing shows there. I never played there, but I remember seeing my brother play up there and thinking like, oh my god, this is like the pinnacle of like stardom right here, like playing, like, because I don't know,
that was a killer venue.
I was like 8 or 9 years old, you know,
gosh.
So like to like a kid that young is just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, that's my brother. He's playing music, loud music on a stage.
What band was he in?
He's in a band. I think they were called Axis.
Axis?
Yeah, they were like, this is like early 2000s, like nu metal sounding style music.
That was around the time I was out at those shows. It's not one that's like ringing bells so much in my head.
They weren't around for very long.
Okay, maybe that's why. But that's still cool. Like I really dug that venue. That was a really cool venue. I think about that sometimes now. Just kind of like I wonder if we could get stuff started back up over there.
I know. I
cool.
drive past it and I think like, oh man, yeah, I remember they used to have shows there.
I heard that they closed it down because there was just too much property damage and crazy happening during the shows.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It seems like that's what happens with most venues around town now is they have their moment in the sun where it's like, oh, there's this new venue, and then like once the luster of it wears off, something happens that causes that place to close or the audience moves on, you know, like...
Yeah.
I remember that happened with Sweetbot. Like, yeah, with that place, like, had its moments, but it seemed like it was doing okay, and then
all of a sudden it just disappeared. At least from my perspective.
I think a lot of it happened with COVID. Like, once that happened, there's a lot more places to play, and then once that happened, a lot of places were forced to either close or just... Once they reopened, they just haven't started having shows back there anymore. So, I mean...
Yeah, I know that definitely changed a lot, that time frame.
Yeah.
For sure.
So... But, you know, things bounce back.
Definitely.
I'm optimistic that things...
Well, there seems to be...
things are bad to begin with, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lack of venues in Stockton right now. And the more I talk to other musicians and other people in the area that are in that scene, the arts and music scene here, they all kind of keep saying the same thing, which is that, you know, we really, really lack a lot of venues. But this is also a generation that is opening their own businesses and opening up their own venues. Yeah. So I'm hoping that it'll all kind of start to fall in place, and over the next maybe 5 years or so, we'll see a lot more venues opening up in the Stockton Lodi area to really cater to that.
Yeah. I definitely have optimism that there will be, you know, there's always somewhere to play.
Yeah.
It's not like we're completely devoid of that.
Oh, yeah. There's a street corner in every freaking town.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If all else fails,
go
hit a street corner or a park. It's all cool. Heck yeah. So let's talk about your album. The first... Now, was your first one that you released recently, was that Faults on Tapestry? Was that the first one?
Yes. Yeah. So... I released all 4 of them in, I guess, like, so I've been writing all of this music since I was like 17, but I've always struggled with, I've never been like a sound guy or like going into the studio type of person, you know. It's always, there's always been some sort of hang-up, whether it's, you know, me not feeling like I'm confident enough to record it myself, or not having the means of like a studio or somebody else that has some sort of setup that I could like pay for to record. But now I am capable of doing it myself. So I went back over the span of like, you know, 17 years of songs that I've written and just picked out the best ones, but released them in a chronological order in how I wrote them. Okay. So Faults on Tapestry is songs that I wrote from like the age of 17 to, I don't know, maybe like 21, 22 or something like that. So those are all songs I wrote like my early years, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And then Have a Safe Journey is songs I wrote from like 2017 to about 2019. and then The Things We Say. The third album is songs I wrote like during lockdown and COVID. So all songs from like 2020, and then I Always Will is stuff I wrote from like 2021 to 22.
Awesome. So all 4 albums are all originals.
They're all originals.
Okay.
They were all recorded like in 2021 and 2022, but they're all songs that, you know, span over a much longer time. But I released them in that order.
Sure. Oh, that's awesome that you're, you know, have that much, because, I mean, there's people that have been in this business and, you know, doing music and whatnot for decades, and they don't have a full album worth of original songs, you know? Mm-hmm. So having 4 albums of original songs is pretty awesome.
It's definitely, like, people always ask me, like, do you have a band? Like, when they find out I play music, I always say, like, do you have a band? I'm like, no. But at the same time, it kind of, like, works to my benefit in the instance of, like, recording, because it's like, I don't have to worry about finding a drummer or finding a bass player to play a part. Like, I can just do it myself, you know, and I don't have to worry about that. So, like, it definitely makes the streamlining of recording and, you know, releasing it, like, that much easier. Like, I don't have a middleman.
Yeah.
I can just do it myself. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. No,
I'm not like some, you know, I'm not some amazing recording engineer. I'm still, like, learning everything.
Sure.
But I can still, you know, put it out there. People can listen to it. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the humbleness, but your album is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you.
When I first heard it and I realized that you had done, like, I think I even messaged you and asked, like, did you do all of that by yourself, like, all those backings? It's really good.
Thank you.
So, yeah, like, give yourself a little bit of credit there, guy.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, and I think there were a lot of songs that, over all of those albums, that, like, almost all of those songs always started out as, like, just an acoustic guitar.
Sure.
And that's kind of, for the longest time, been my sort of, if I had to have any sort of philosophy about songwriting, which this makes me sound so pretentious using that word, my philosophy of writing music, is that if the song can sound, like, enjoyable and pleasant to listen to with, like, just an acoustic guitar or just one instrument and a person maybe singing, then I think that's, like, the backbone that you need for the song, you know, like, and then everything else that you add later is just kind of, you know, just the little sprinkles on top of the song. Like, the song is there in that piano part or in the guitar part, that one, like, the backbone of the song.
Definite.
But, yeah, it was fun recording those albums because a lot of those songs, like I said, just started as acoustic guitar, and I never really, it wasn't until recently that I had the means to, like, add those other instruments, or to hear what those songs would sound like with other instruments added.
Yeah.
And there's a few that now that I've heard them with, like, extra instruments, I can't go back to having it be just an acoustic song. Like, it makes me sad that I can't play all the instruments at the same time, but, you know.
Yeah, I've got a couple like that, too.
Yeah,
I fully understand that.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So what do you think your biggest inspiration is for writing as many songs as you have written? As
many songs as I've written.
Like, do they all kind of have different inspirations from different periods of your life, or do they all kind of, like, do you find something that's common that inspires you?
I mean, I've tried, like, I guess, I think it was after I finished the 4th album and started looking at all of the songs that I have, like, now that I can just look at them on a list, you know, and see everything, I find that I tend to write well, everything obviously is from my perspective, but
Sure.
I write about it a lot, and it's really interesting trying to discern like your habits and the things that you like. It's I guess I haven't looked too deeply like into the lyrics to see like what commonalities I have between everything, but a lot of it is from my perspective. A lot of it is from like, I guess, things that some people would consider traumatic events, or just things that move you, you know. But I don't really, I don't know. I don't really like to go back and like overanalyze like the lyrics themselves. I like once I've written it and recorded it and released it, it's out of my hands at that point, and like whatever anybody else like gets out of it, like I love hearing what other people like get from my music and from my lyrics and whatnot. So like that makes it way more special to me, you know, hearing how people take something that happened to me and how they connect it to their own life, you know, like that's way more enjoyable than me trying to, you know, think of like where was the inspiration for this song. Every song, they all kind of like have inspirations from different places. So
you basically like to be the abstract painting.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I write things a little poetically, but I feel like I write pretty plainly, too. Like, I feel like people, like, I don't feel like my music is, like, not universal, you know? Sure.
Well, I mean, like, one of my favorites of yours was Damned If You Do and Damned If I Don't. Uh-huh. And that, you know, when you're talking about lyrics and, you know, the how blatant they are, you know, that one's pretty much like, it's easy to decipher what that one's about.
There's not, I mean, like, my metaphors, I feel like my metaphors could use some work, because I feel like sometimes they're pretty,
I don't know, I think they work for how they are.
I think so too, but I think, like I said, I'm not some like Pulitzer Prize writer here, you know. Like, I feel like I feel like at least in my internal dialogue, and sometimes that ends up coming out onto the paper, is I feel like I think of things pretty simply.
Sure.
You know, we have complex emotions, but I feel like when I'm expressing them, I feel like it's pretty easy to understand. It's really easy to understand, I think, if I'm singing a sad song versus a happy one, you know. I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore.
Well, I've got to say, like, I've heard a lot of your music. Like, I've heard it live, and I've listened to a lot of it streaming. Mm-hmm. And it does seem to have that kind of theme across the board, where it's not usually, like, happy sentiment going on.
No, not particularly, no. I mean, I guess if that I would say that is something that, like, kind of inspires me to write something. I think there's something to be said when that, you know, people have always said that like great art comes from, you know, massive amounts of pain, you know.
Sure.
Like, you know, Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks is like his divorce album, and it's considered to be like one of his best albums. But he said that, you know, I don't understand why people say that they like that album, because there's so much pain in that album. You know, I had to go through like a lot of pain to write that album, and people were saying they enjoy it. I don't know. I think that there's just something, you know, they say happiness is fleeting, so like sometimes it's hard to write about something that's really happy unless you're really happy, you know, unless you're living in it.
Well, I think that's, you know, like, that's why people say that about those kinds of albums, you know?
Yeah.
Where they're so drawn to albums that aren't necessarily happy. And I think it's because they're able to resonate with it on a different level. Like, it feels more honest.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not alone.
Well, it like you say, it's people are so used to having to put on the mask and the face to say that they're okay and that they feel okay.
Yeah.
So having somebody tell you that, you know, somebody else is not okay, like, yeah, you have that feeling of not being alone, but it feels honest. And I think people are drawn to honesty more than anything else. So the happy songs that really get popular and a lot of acclaim, I think that they're, like you said, from people who are honestly happy people. You know? So, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, if that's what you feel, that's what you feel.
I think it's funny, too, because, like, I wouldn't say that, like, I'm a super unhappy person. I think it's, for whatever reason, when it comes time to write something or feeling inspired to write something, like, I've written happy songs before, you know, like, they're there. If you squint, you'll find them. You'll find them. There's a few happy songs there. But for whatever reason, I think it's, I don't know what it says about me personally, but I know that, like, more often than not, if there's something really traumatic or sad, it's an emotion that, for whatever reason, is easier to tap into, easier to express it, to put it into words, versus, like, happiness can feel like so many different things all at once, you know. So, like, how do you define that? How do you put that into a stanza?
Yeah.
You know, like, it's really hard. Some people were really good at it.
Definitely. I know I'm not.
Yeah, I don't write
not
too many happy songs. No.
So where can we find your music?
It's everywhere. YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, I think Deezer.
Nice.
I think it's there's like a whole, when you upload those songs, there's like a whole long list of, like, all the different streaming sites, and most of them I've never heard of before. Right. Some in, like, you know, different countries.
So pretty much, like, whatever anybody's streaming platform is, they can search for you and find you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you have all of your 4 albums on all of those platforms?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Everywhere.
And what do you have coming up next? Are you working on anything?
Slowly but surely, yeah. I don't really have anything that, like, I can put a name to or a face to yet, but you know, there's always something happening.
And are you lined up to play anywhere?
Not currently, no, not right at the moment. No.
But are you booking?
Oh, I'm always entertaining opportunities.
All right, so we need people to listen and book Tyler.
Yeah.
Awesome. Give us some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, I guess. Just don't be a dick. I mean, that's pretty much how I try to operate. Is just if it like adversely affects, like, anybody else, like, don't do that. Like, come on now, just stop.
I like it.
Just don't do that.
Nice and sweet. Yes, yeah. I love it. All right. Well, that's killer. I thank you for doing the thing with me.
Of course.
It was fun. Shout out to Empresso Coffee Shop in College Square here in Stockton for supplying us with the caffeine and good vibes needed to conduct this interview. Thank you.
What is it I have to do? Because it's never amounted for you. I don't know what I did, but it somehow hindered you through. Look into me. shocks the senses and puts excitement in the air. Such a brightening glare. It's the light of affection that I get when you're around. I'm so enthralled, I fall into the ground by your voice that is making the sweetest sound. I've become unbound. Stuck in 113 trenches, pondering your light at park benches. Where will this take either of us? It's so hard to tell now what is and what was, but it's all blank now, at least I think. But alas, I really don't know how much more I can strain.
You're listening to Mudville Sounds.
Hello?